Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States.
Your son Hunter is on trial, and I know that you cannot speak about an ongoing federal prosecution. But let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
President Biden has just pardoned his son Hunter on gun and tax charges that he was facing.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel where we discuss all things news and politics. On Sunday, Joe Biden pardoned his son Hunter Biden on any crime committed from 2014 to 2024. It was pretty obvious that this was going to happen, but this comes after we've been told for months that Joe Biden wasn't going to pardon Hunter. We've heard this from Joe Biden.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
Karine Jean-Pierre.
Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
And many others on the left.
The president has ruled out pardoning his son.
The president, Anderson, has been really clear that he is going to accept the outcome of the trial no matter what happens.
So Joe Biden's gotten asked about, talking about law and order. He's gotten asked if he would pardon his son. He has said no.
Asked directly, and he has said he wouldn't pardon his son if he gets convicted.
He's not pardoning his son.
And has said that he will not pardon his son.
Biden told David Muir that he would absolutely accept the verdict, whatever it was, and that he would not pardon his son, regardless.
The contrast is profound. To sit there and say, well, I'm not going to intervene in the legal process, and I wouldn't pardon my son. One side, Democrats and Joe Biden protecting the justice system. And on the other, Republicans and Trump protecting Trump.
Our current president of the United States has so much respect for the law that he has said he would not pardon his son.
Mr. Biden was found guilty by a jury of his peers, just like Donald Trump, because this is our justice system at work. The divide here is stunning, and it's a great reminder that one political party remains committed to the rule of law and the other doesn't.
Joe Biden has already proven he's willing to stand up for the rule of law.
I said I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Karine Jean-Pierre's credibility has been ruined by Biden. She has said Joe Biden wouldn't pardon Hunter not once, not twice, but at least 3 separate times.
Would the president pardon or commute his son if he's convicted?
So I've answered this question before. It was asked of me not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and I was very clear and I said no.
Okay. Let me go back to the first question of the briefing. I know you said not a lot's changed since yesterday and that it's a personal matter, but from a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
You've also said several times that the president would not pardon or commute the sentence for his son, Hunter. I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying he would not.
It's still a no. It's still a no.
It will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no. And I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
Why did Joe Biden do this? Probably because it's his son, but what about the reason he gave to the public? This is the statement Joe Biden made. Today I signed a pardon for my son Hunter. From the day I took office, I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department's decision-making, and I kept my word even as I have unfairly watched my son being selectively and unfairly prosecuted without aggravating factors like use in a crime, multiple purchases, or buying a weapon as a straw purchaser. People are almost never brought to trial on felony charges solely for how they filed out a gun form. Those who are late paying their taxes because of serious addictions, but paid them back subsequently with interest and penalties, are typically given non-criminal resolutions. It is clear that Hunter was treated differently. The charges in his cases came only after several of my political opponents in Congress instigated them to attack me and oppose my election. Then a carefully negotiated plea deal agreed to by the Department of Justice unraveled in the courtroom, with a number of my political opponents in Congress taking credit for bringing political pressure on the process. Had the plea deal held, it would have been a fair, reasonable resolution of Hunter's cases. No reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's cases can reach any other conclusion than Hunter was singled out only because he is my son, and that is wrong. There has been an effort to break Hunter, who has been 5.5 years sober, even in the face of unrelenting attacks and selective prosecution. In trying to break Hunter, they try to break me, and there is no reason to believe it will stop here. Enough is enough. For my entire career, I have followed a simple principle. Just tell the American people the truth. They'll be fair-minded. Here's the truth. I believe in the justice system. But as I have wrestled with this, I also believe raw politics has infected this process and it led to a miscarriage of justice. And once I made the decision this weekend, there was no sense in delaying it further. I hope Americans will understand why a father and a president would come to this decision. But let's ask the real question. What happened from 2014 to 2024 that he may need a pardon from? Well, besides the guns and tax cases, he's been absolved of much more. The pardon absolves Hunter of any possible drug involvement, sex trafficking, lobbying, bribery, foreign agent or other crimes involving Ukraine, and several other foreign governments or companies, including China. The start date of 2014 coincides with the year Hunter joined the board of the Ukraine energy firm Burisma in an influence peddling scheme alleged to have involved Joe Biden. So all that laptop stuff we've been hearing about over the last few years is all gone now, even after the mainstream media covered it up by telling us it wasn't real till after the election. Keep in mind, Joe Biden is the guy that was telling us we need to trust the justice system when Trump was convicted of 34 felonies. Trump responded to the news on Truth Social saying, "Does the pardon given by Joe to Hunter include the January 6 hostages who have now been in prison for years? Such an abuse and miscarriage of justice." Besides Trump, let's get into the replies of other people on the right. Eric Trump said, "Don't worry about the 112 subpoenas I received over the past 8 years, calling out the hypocrisy from the left." Donald Trump Jr. said, "Everyone knew he was going to do it. He was just going to do it when it was no consequence to Democrat electability." Community Notes added, "By pardoning his son Hunter, not merely for a single crime, but for all actual or potential crimes he may or may not have created over an 11-year period, Joe Biden has made it clear that some people are in fact above the law," to Joe Biden's post. To which Elon Musk responded by saying, "Community Note slays." Other than that, Elon Musk didn't have much else to say. Overall, the people on the right aren't happy, but are also not surprised. Like I've said, we've seen this coming for months. It was pretty obvious. Some people are asking about the people that should have been pardoned, like the January 6 protesters, but overall, people on the right share the same opinion. But the best part is to see what the people on the left are saying about this. First, we have this post from John Harwood that didn't age well, saying, "People who insist Biden will pardon Hunter after specifically ruling it out are telling on themselves. They can't imagine someone acting on principle and keeping his word." Cenk Uygur said, "Everyone outraged by the Hunter Biden pardon is equally outraged by Trump pardoning Roger Stone, Steve Bannon, Paul Manafort, and Charles Kushner, right? Especially Kushner, who was a white-collar criminal who had nothing to do with Trump administration but was a family member. I think they're all con men and criminals. None of them should have received a pardon, so I'm perfectly consistent. Pardons aren't supposed to be for your friends and family who are crooks. They're supposed to be for cases of injustice. Both Trump and Biden greatly abuse this." People talking about how the Hunter Biden pardon stained Joe Biden's legacy are ridiculous. He has no legacy left after refusing to get out of the race for so long when it was clear he was a senile and after authorizing and financing the slaughterhouse in Gaza. A legacy of shame. I don't entirely agree with Cenk, but at least he's more consistent than other Democrats. Up next, we have CNN calling out Congressman Dan Goldman.
In July of 2023, just after that plea deal fell through, this is what you said. I want to watch.
Do you think a pardon for his son would be a mistake?
Yes, and I don't think there's any chance that President Biden is going to do that, unlike his predecessor, who pardoned all of his friends and anyone who had any access to him. And I think you see that in this case, where he kept on, and Merrick Garland kept on, a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney to investigate the president's son. If there is not an indication of the independence of the Department of Justice beyond that, I don't know what we could look for.
What does that feel like, watching yourself back then, reassuring people that Biden was not going to issue a pardon for his son?
Yeah, and I think that if that plea agreement and that plea deal had gone through, there would be no pardon. That was a satisfactory outcome.
It had already fallen through.
That only was... Sorry?
When you reacted, this was when the deal had fallen through.
Also on the mainstream media, we have an MSNBC guest, Joe Walsh, call it the hypocrisy of the left.
So the next time any of us complain about anything Trump does, this pardon is just deflating. For those of us who have been out there for a few years now yelling about what a unique threat Donald Trump is, for Joe Biden to do something like this, Trump, nobody's above the law, we've been screaming. Well, Joe Biden just made clear his son Hunter is above the law. Donald Trump lies every time he opens his mouth, we've been screaming. Joe Biden repeatedly lied about this. The politicization of the justice system. Donald Trump and his people have been screaming. Well, that's exactly what Biden said here.
Joe, is this a politics of purity? I mean, we had Donald Trump pardon Sheriff Joe Arpaio during his term, and there wasn't a lot of hue and cry about that. I mean, this is a father who saw his first wife killed, his daughter killed in a car crash, his 2 young sons survive.
Even Nate Silver issued a statement saying, "The White House consistently lied about this. Biden's stubborn insistence on running for re-election was perhaps the singular most important factor in Trump 2.0, and now he's kicking salt in the wound of the party Brandy helped to destroy." Then proceeds to call Joe Biden a senile old man, and later says, "Why do you think Trump gains a following? Well, actually that's complicated, but part of it is because elites of all political stripes are absolutely out for themselves and complete moral hypocrites, and Democrats stake a claim to moral superiority when Trump does not." And went as far to say, "Don't vote for any Democrat in 2028 who doesn't repudiate the pardon within 48 hours. It's good to see that there are some people on the left that are willing to call out the hypocrisy in their own party, but of course there are those that are trying to defend Joe Biden like Harry Sisson, who said, "Republicans elected a convicted felon as president and they suddenly think they have any room to be angry over President Biden pardoning Hunter Biden? Spare me the fake outrage and sit down, you complete and total hypocrites." The right isn't hypocritical here. Biden has been saying for months that he wouldn't pardon his son, and that we need a trust for justice system, then proceeds to pardon his son. Meanwhile, the right doesn't trust the justice system at all. Whoopi Goldberg tried to defend Biden as well. I'll play the clip for you right here.
Two things, because I respect it as a parent. I understand why he would do it, but I wonder to understand why lie about it for so long.
I'd stop calling it a lie.
Okay, why repeatedly say you're not going to and you do? And secondarily, for the part of this country, half of it that doesn't support Biden, doesn't know him personally, doesn't get to have phone calls, and they're just looking at a system that seems like it only benefits the people who are in power.
I'm going to say,
what precedent does that set?
Well, here's what it says. It's a precedent for all of us to open our eyes because we've elected someone who is in a similar situation, who didn't have a drug problem, who knew what he was doing, who clearly stood and said, I can do this. And he did it. So I think, for many, many reasons, this is very different than any other situation that we have ever dealt with.
What do you mean that you wouldn't call it a lie? You said he wouldn't pardon him, and then he did anyway. There's no excuses here. We also have Jasmine Crockett celebrating the news here.
Well, I won't pretend to speak for the entire caucus, but I will say, way to go, Joe. Let me be the first one to congratulate the president for deciding to do this, because at the end of the day, we know that we have a 34-count convicted felon that is about to walk into the White House. So for anyone that wants to clutch their pearls now because he decided that he was going to pardon his son, I would say take a look in the mirror, because we also know that when it comes to this cabinet has more people accused of sexual assault than any incoming cabinet probably ever in the history of America. So we are living in unprecedented times, and we know that this was completely political. As someone who serves on the Oversight Committee, this was gamesmanship the entire time. And
Eric Swalwell, the guy who got caught sleeping with a Chinese spy, said, "If you defended the 34-time felon who committed sexual assault, stole national security documents, and tried running a coup on his country, you can set out the Hunter Biden pardon discussion." The irony is unreal. Destiny was also happy about the news and even went after Nate Silver for calling out the left. All I have to say is keep it up, Destiny. With people like you on the left, we're going to have no problem winning in 2026 and 2028. A few others are trying to call the right hypocritical for getting mad about Biden pardoning Hunter, either because Trump is a convicted felon or because Trump pardoned people as well. But I personally don't think it matters that much, especially since we're calling out the lie that we've been told over the last year. But by far the craziest response I've seen is from a CNN panelist who said Trump wants to get firing squads involved.
It a lie
NBC
because
News said it.
Honestly,
NBC News.
What the other side has been saying for years, what you guys ran on for president was multiple lies. I mean, If Eric Holder said it right, I think. He said if Hunter's name was Joe Smith, this case would probably have never even gone to trial, right? That it was always a political
Whose
witch
Justice
hunt.
Department brought the
And
case?
it was always,
But
and
Lee,
this
wasn't
pardon-
it? But wasn't, to Scott's point, I mean, wasn't it a lie? I mean, you can defend it, but wasn't it a lie that he was not going to pardon him?
No, I believe the circumstances have changed. I think that we have a president coming into office who's talking about firing squads, who's talking about running people around the country and making sure that everyone who's his enemy is going to be punished. And Hunter Biden lied about his drug use on a government forum when he was buying a gun. And he failed to file and pay taxes when he was a drug addict. He paid back those taxes with interest. Donald Trump himself was indicted for 17 counts of criminal tax fraud, more than Hunter, and he's going to be the president of the United
11
States.
years.
So
You're missing a few things here. 11 years.
The cope from the left is absolutely wild. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.